Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. Last day of the month of August. It's the 31st already, Sunday, at a little after 11 a.m. And we'll get started. On yesterday, we talked about the Akashic records, and I thought it was important enough that we did not field questions on yesterday, but I want to do so today. I want to make sure that no one has anything pressing or something that they want to deal with that we did not do yesterday. So, do you have any questions about anything else before we get back into this? Anything, questions and or comments about anything that may have gotten your attention this last week or so, from a previous lesson even?
Hey, Ron, this is Charles. I want to understand what you're talking about when you're talking about the ruckus.
Okay, we're gonna get into it in just a second, Charles.
All
Okay,
right.
yes, sir. Thank you. But does anyone have a question about anything else? Just want to make sure that we didn't want to omit something that may be important to you. Uh, Charles brings up some. Charles has an interesting question. Let's get into it. Uh, because this these records and may not be uh, that easily so much to understand, but it's a storage bank or energy bank of that includes everything that we've ever done, Charles. Anything in it, all including your thoughts and feelings and your emotions. It houses who we are and what we're about, and it is not contained by time. We're talking about everybody who ever was in the universe from our past, from the past to the future. Uh, it is more than that though, and somebody help me out with that, kind of sum it up because it contains more of an experience more than a definition. Uh, Anybody wanna help out with that, please?
Yeah, Grand Rising, everyone. This is GC.
Grand Rising.
Um, in terms of Charles' question, I looked at it or tried to have an understanding by looking at it as an encyclopedia, like a cosmic encyclopedia, where everything is stored, you know what I mean, in this $1 million computer or millions of, dollar computer when it talks about information. And also, it's like universal records where it's all that is within us. And when I say within us, in terms of being born with this um, knowledge, because of, again, not only just our ancestors, but looking at it in terms of um, our DNA. And so
Mm.
everything that exists, you know, we have access to because of generational information that has been passed down through history. And so again, try to look at it from a basic or fundamental perspective. I just see it, as like a cosmic encyclopedia that all and everything, is in the records. And so that's how I'm kind of, what I mean, digesting it in a way that I can explain it from just a fundamental perspective. I just want to share those thoughts. I'm done.
Thank you, GC. Thank you. Anyone else? How does, based on what we discussed yesterday, or maybe your own research, what do you see? How do you explain this? I'm sorry, Sheldon, did I interrupt you?
Yes, not to interrupt me. I'm just saying yes. Hello, everyone. Greetings and good day. Um, Charles, when one thing that we can talk about in terms of understanding the Akashic records is also understanding it from an experiential standpoint. When you say you were in the hospital and you had this experience, which was definitely real, and certainly you knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was real. And you had an understanding of things that had transpired and taken place while you were under, when your family member came to actually tell you about it, which you already knew. That was you tapping into the Akashic records. That was you tapping into what George just talked about in terms of everything that has happened, everything will happen. We think about people having visions, seeing things in dreams, of being spoken and knowing that things are going to automatically happen in the future, deja vu, etc. That's what it is, what it's talking about. So beyond just, and we're trying to explain it in intellectual terms, but the best way to understand it is to understand this particular thing that I participated in, that I was a part of, which was real. That was the Akashic records. That is what I was tapping into or aware of at that particular time. This has been happening all our lives. We just didn't know that that's what it is that we were doing. I'm done.
Yeah, we just didn't have a name for it like that.
Okay, I understand it now. I had that type experience, but I didn't know what it was, and it happens to me during the time, my childhood and my accident. And like I said, I didn't know what it was because I never was taught this, and now I understand it a whole lot more because I used to have all kind of dreams. I used to dream about other entity or whatever coming to the planet. I used to have being in another place. I used to have certain vision of deja vu. And one time, my mama, she had a dream that it was a tornado. It was so bad. It used to have, she said it had a beeping red light on top of it. And I looked at her. And like I said, a lot of people don't have these experiences, but no one never knew what it was, and they were scared to talk about it.
And those experiences and those things that we, not just you, but we actually know, and it did not come about from logic or someone telling us, or it's actually just like figuring it out from a mental standpoint, but they just come to us and we absolutely know that we don't even have proof for, but know deep down in our soul that this thing is true, or this thing is real, this thing is happening. That is us being one and touching into the Akashic records. Exactly what you just explained, or described, I should say, rather.
Yeah. Thank you. Audrey, did you have something? Can't hear you. Can you guys hear?
No.
No?
Doesn't look like you're on mute, but I can't. Okay.
Ron, may I speak until Audrey get on? This is
Yes,
Evelyn.
ma'am. Hey, Evelyn.
Okay. Grand Rising family, honor to the ancestors. I'm glad the Akashic records are not in book form. It's not in the book because books have been banned, books have been burned, but it's who we are. And I'm just grateful that how the Creator put it inside of us, or made it to be memory inside of us, who we are. So I'm just grateful for that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
No, thank you. I am as well as a couple of us said yesterday. I had never heard of this. What I love about it, Evelyn, is paying attention to the journey and the layers and the things that the creator is opening up for us that we don't realize, or maybe we do, uh, the newness and the honor it is that a lot of this is being opened up in the earth through us and by us to bring in the understanding, like the verse that talks about being the tip of the spear. We are it, and this is not only awesome responsibility, it's an awesome feeling. So I agree with you. I am truly grateful. You
And
ready?
I heard Kathy say yesterday, I'm
Uh,
sorry, are
no,
you?
no. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. My apologies.
Oh, but that's okay. When Kathy was saying it was an experience, it is truly an experience.
Yeah,
Um, you bask in that feeling. It's such a good feeling to just sit and meditate and just being still. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. Audrey, still can't hear you. Wow. Wonder what's going on.
Do you have anything plugged in?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I had a speaker plugged in. Okay. Um, what I was going to say to Charles is we talked yesterday about how the Bible alludes to the Akashic record when it talks about the Lamb's Book of Life and
Mhm.
everything being written in there. All your words, your deeds, your thoughts, because all of those things are vibrations. Your thoughts, your deeds, your words, all the vibrations that go out into the
Yeah.
cosmos. Um, but it becomes part of that collective unconscious, that collective consciousness that's there. Anyway, just to simplify it, it's kind of like the book of life that shows all your deeds, all your thoughts, everything you've done. And then the Bible kind of makes us believe that only God has access to it. But because we are God, we have access to it also.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Uh, yeah, I looked at something, Audrey, if we get to it. Uh, what you talked about, the Lamb's Book of Life, I looked at it from the perspective of Revelation 21. And there's a couple verses in there I want to look at if we have time. If we don't, we don't. But because I like the discussion, you guys are opening
Okay.
something up. Yeah. Anyone else? Nick, did you have something?
Not necessarily, but I did want to say that, well, I can say that if we all think back to our childhoods, there might be all kind of experiences we can remember having
Mm-hmm.
that we did not understand back then that are all related to what is sort of instinctually and inherently available to us as consciously aware beings. In terms of abilities, in terms of experiences that we might have had that are all related to spirituality and the metaphysical nature of reality itself. So there are things you can do to consciously interface with and quote unquote read the Akashic records. But as I stated yesterday, it likely requires a great deal of balance and advancement along your own spiritual journey. And the sort of conscious integration of the abilities that, for example, may have been spontaneous in childhood, the more conscious integration of those abilities as an adult, which just takes, time and practice. But these things are all available, and there are many things that we have the ability to experience and do, the more we integrate those aspects of our self. And I said to read the Akashic field consciously requires a great deal of advancement, but we may do it spontaneously and sort of remember that experience in different ways without even knowing it.
Go back up a minute now. You said to read it consciously.
Yeah.
Okay, help me out.
So it's a bit like falling asleep. When you fall asleep, you do it at a certain point, your unconscious instinct takes over, and you do not remember the process, the mental process of what has to happen in order for you to fall asleep. You just kind of relax, and it takes over, and you don't necessarily remember.
Right.
So that is, it's a part of our subconscious that we are usually unconscious of while we're sort of regularly awake. So that's an example of an unconscious process taking over for us and sort of doing things for us in a way in which we are not conscious of. So we're unconscious of that process as it is occurring.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't have to think about it. It's a level of spiritual instinct that is sort of taking over and guiding you through that process. If you want to do these things consciously, then you have to, little by little, be aware of each step in that process. And so that's why it takes practice. It just requires more information that you must be aware of and more focus and, more conscious engagement with what that process is if you want to be able to have conscious access to it. So it's kind of like the difference between sort of remembering parts of your dreams, or some things are vague that you may remember when you wake up, versus fully remembering every detail because you are fully conscious during that process.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I best describe this for me, what I hear you saying. You tell me if I'm wrong. When I listened to that video that Pastor sent us, I did not listen to the whole 40 minutes. I might listen to 5 minutes and I would pause it and kind of reflect on what he said and start it back up again. I guess that's why it took me a whole week to do it. But
That's okay.
I,
I didn't
yeah,
listen to the whole thing either.
yeah. But I take that's what you mean, trying to be conscious of every portion of it, uh, rather than involuntarily kind of quote unquote sleeping on some of it and having to listen to it again that way. Am I
Yeah,
on the right track? Yeah.
yeah. With respect to any video that we might watch, it's just the more you can, it's almost like a meditation, staying focused and absorbing all that information in a conscious way.
Mm.
And you might need to, stop it every 5 minutes. That's fine. That's just the pace at which you are able to absorb it. And it's similar for when you're meditating or any other sort of turning your awareness inward to examine your own self. You sort of do it in stages, and you can, do as much as you can, and then you might need to take a break. It's just
Yeah.
that. And over time, you learn to be more conscious of what is going on for longer periods of time.
So I have a
Yeah.
question based on what you guys are saying, Grand Rising family. When I listened to it, I remember I said it put me in a deep state of meditation. I no longer heard that with my ears. I cannot per se tell you a fraction of everything that I heard, but I know I received it because it inside. It was like I was inhaling it in while I'm breathing. So is that the like going to sleep automatically without thinking about it? Because I didn't plan to go into anything. I wasn't sitting down to meditate. I was sitting down to listen with my natural ears. But I know I began to hear through my spirit and absorb what was being said. So what was that then, Nick?
Yeah, that sounds exactly like it's a form of meditation that then led you to a perhaps more serene, stable state of consciousness where you're not necessarily sort of consciously focused on what's going around you physically, but you've relaxed into a more open state of awareness as a result of the sort of soothing effect of the information and that video.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you this question, or let's ask you guys or anyone. When Pastor talked about what we have called intuition in the past, was basically the Akashic records, and we didn't know that. We've always heard it called women's intuition. I've never heard anybody say that's a man's intuition, but I've even used that term. It was just my women's intuition that told me that I needed to do this, or I needed to be in this place, or not do this at this particular time. I guess my question becomes, based on what Pastor was laying out yesterday about what the feminine birth and all of that, how does all of this, the Akashic records and all of that, tie into what we've deemed and called women's intuition?
Yeah. Again, this is GC. Kath, as I listen to the question that you ask, there's again 4 grades of consciousness, and I'll end up in terms of sharing it from the aspect of the cosmic mother, in terms of when we talk about wisdom, she shall preserve you. But in the 4 grades of consciousness, as Nick was speaking, we talk about going through phases where we can appreciate the first unconsciousness. Now, unconsciousness is not being aware. So when I think about the Akashic records, not that it's something that, we don't have in us, that we're born with, but more importantly, just not being aware, you know what I mean, of this particular concept. But more importantly, we know it. And so when we talk about being unconscious and then looking at simple consciousness, it's just like the animal kingdom. I mean, you know what I mean? We are aware of simple things that we come to know and understand. But as time go on, we have a deeper desire to know or to seek it, from a more I don't know the right word, esoterically, but more importantly, again, that simple consciousness that all humans, animals, and people have. But then when we talk about self-consciousness, which is the 3rd consciousness, now it's coming into that knowing that we can begin to appreciate how are we receiving it from our ancestors, how are we receiving it from the Creator, but coming to the point now where you heard what Pastor said, we've heard what Pastor, mentioned yesterday, but then are we getting it with our 3rd ear? And the 3rd ear is that spiritual dimension where, it's something that Mother said, and I heard it with my ear, but no, I heard it with my 3rd ear, in terms of it really connecting in a way that is much deeper than just us seeing something with our eyes, seeing something, smelling something with our nostrils. And so I think that spiritual connection is one that we are gravitating in collectively. But then, as you mentioned, the last consciousness is that cosmic consciousness, where you talk about intuition, but that cosmic consciousness now, relates to that Akashic records. where we're just tapping into the vibration, the frequency of that which already existed, that which we already are connected to, but because of our desire now, we're, now receiving it in a more deeper way, which I say what you mentioned earlier, Kathy, in terms of hearing it now in that spiritual way where it's not just through your ears, but I think that third ear that you're tuning into, if that resonates. I'm done.
Okay, well, let me ask this then. Without even understanding, I guess what I'm asking is, without even understanding, were we always recognizing, I don't want to ask this, were we always recognizing by saying women's intuition, without even understanding what we were saying, this energy or this understanding was flowing from the cosmic mother? We never attributed it to anyone but the feminine species, not understanding that we all have this ability. Now we're tapping into that. So I guess my question was,
Yeah.
so are you all trying to understand what I'm saying to you? Because it may be confusing. Do you hear what I'm really asking? This term, women's intuition, we always thought that we were just that we as the feminine species were intuitive. And we had this sense of being able to do certain things and figure certain things out spiritually, and just said, oh, I don't know where that came from, but it just came to me to do this. Is how I would have deemed it in the past. Oh, something just came to me and told me I needed to do this thing. And I guess I'm saying all along that was the Akashic record, and we didn't know that. We attributed that to just feminine intuition. Am I seeing that correctly? Now we know it's much more than that, is what I'm saying.
And this is Barbara. I can see that. I can see exactly what you're saying. We've always had that affinity, if you will, that because when I say we, I mean feminine energy, because it is the womb of creation. And so if everything started there, we've always, for lack of a better word, like the umbilical cord is still attached in a sense to the source.
Barbara,
of
life. You breaking up, honey. Barbara, you breaking up.
Sorry.
I can't hardly understand.
Sorry. Can you understand me now, Charles?
Yes, honey, I can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Okay. What I was saying is I agree with what Kathy is saying, and I'm understanding what she is saying. I believe because feminine energy it is the womb itself. It is the place where where creation occurs, and so it's almost like we've, for lack of a better word, have the umbilical cord still attached to the source of all life. And so the intuition, I agree, has been based on the Akashic record, because we're still attached in a sense, in terms of a spiritual umbilical cord. It is another way of saying it. Thanks.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to
girl.
that.
Go ahead, Audrey.
Kathy, intuition comes directly from the Akashic records. And I think women are more in tune to it just because of well, I don't want to say our role in society, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Our role in society affords that we reflect more, we are in tune more, just because we're raising kids, and we don't think about ourselves very much. We're always thinking about, our children, our house, our whatever. So we reflect more. We are in tune more to hearing things, especially when you're listening for the cry of your child or the whimper of your child or whatever. We're just more in tune to everything around us. And I think that also is extrapolated into the spiritual realm. We're just more in tune to things. And everybody can be. It's just that for women, we happen to be because of the way we live our lives and because of the kinds of things we have to do in our lives. So I think that is probably why it's referred to as women's intuition, because we do exhibit it more than men per se.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes. Thank all of you. Yes. Go ahead, Sheldon.
And in
And
addition
if I could
to
add
all that
something.
has, in addition to all that was said, to Audrey's point in terms of women, and well, just to go a little bit further on a couple of her points, the point with kids is that also, when you think of a blind person or someone who has some type of quote unquote handicap, and typically what happens is their other abilities become heightened because they're able to concentrate and use those things and I guess practice with those abilities more. So someone who is blind typically has a keen ability to actually hear better than the normal person who can see. In the same way, well, one, being with that particular just women and having kids, having that ability to have concern about them, look beyond themselves, and in a sense, spiritually attach themselves to that child and that child's situation and understand more so or have a closer type of communication to actually understand that is going on with them. So it's like their awareness more so moves from their personal, physical, human, individual body to that of the child as well as the child's needs, just through practice. We mentioned about the women, definitely the role in society in terms of women not always being in a position of power, one, and then having to then depend on being in tune with their emotions, which is funny because our society thinks that women are too emotional, which is ridiculous. But being more in tune with that emotional state, being more in tune with others, being more in tune with, in a sense, the hidden going on beyond the physical. And then that of men, generally speaking, especially from a Western standpoint, actually having this concentration, going back to that example of seeing and hearing, being focused more so on physical abilities and looking at physical abilities as being the strength and was more important. Typically, men are more physically stronger than men, and therefore not working out the intuition, if you will, muscle as much, actually depending on it as much and kind of ignoring it. So yes, roles in society, play a role in it as well in terms of, I guess, just practice. I'll finish.
Thank you.
you,
Can I
Sheldon.
say something? Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
Hello?
Of course you can.
I was thinking about something that Pastor said, it was probably last week or week before last. And he was talking about man. And he made the statement, and it kind of, at first it kind of bothered me, and then once I thought about it, I was like, dang, he's right. But he said, we came in the world, he basically said man came in the world only connected to the physical. And basically when I thought about that, and I said in relationship to myself and what society has taught us, and what you guys have just said, you think about you know what Sheldon just said. We think that women are too emotional and things like that, and men most men, you know, as far as masculinity, we operate with everything is in relationship to our five senses, what we hear, taste, smell, see, feel, and things like that. And then when it comes to the feminine aspects, they're in tune with things that you can't actually put your hand on. You know what I'm saying? You can't put your hand on happiness. You can't put intuition in a box. And so when it comes to that, you know, when we think about intuition, I think of intuition as being feminine energy. You know, when you think about nurturing, I think of that as being feminine. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the things that we don't, you kind of don't want to say it because we're not talking about a physical woman. We're talking about a part of our being. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to intuition, I think of that as coming directly from the feminine energy. Because like when you think about, I know everybody has heard somebody say, well, my grandma, she just had a way of knowing things. Because grandma was in tune. Grandma didn't know how to put a name on it, but she just was in tune. And so, you know, and there's times that all of us have been in tune, and those were times that we had tapped into that spiritual side of ourselves. And so, you know, without saying it, I mean, what it is the feminine. The spiritual is the feminine. So that's all.
But you put your finger on it. You said in tune. And that is the key thing. It's the resonance and it's the vibration. It's being at that same pitch, if you will, with the universe. That's what the in-tuneness is. That's what that's what the invisible, quote unquote, umbilical cord is. It's that resonance and that vibration. So thank you for that observation.
Yes, thank you, Dawn.
I think too, I remember when we were studying Genesis 11 and 12, I think, and Pastor talked to us about the difference between a country and a nation. We have always been taught how to make distinctions between us and to differentiate not only by race but by gender. And we have been hard coded to see that women are women and men are men. And I think what we're doing is breaking down those barriers. In that hard code, we as men have been hardwired to be tough and be strong and be chauvinistic and all the other things you can think of. And we've covered over our softness, if you will, or our spiritual side. And I think that too is a part of this. We see if we haven't come over completely, when we have those intuitive thoughts or feelings, we feel ashamed of them because it's not quote unquote being masculine. It's not manly. And so I think we are getting more and more in touch with ourselves and blurring that line, that there is so much more. We're designed to be different and not to be the same. And I love this discussion because I think that's a part of what we're saying.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling him what we were talking about in our classes, and he was like, "I'm not ready for all that shit." And so I kind of, and he was, and you know, he was saying that we were talking about. He's like, "What about the man? What about the man?" I'm like, "What about it?" and I was like, I said we're not talking about physical. We're not talking about, and see, that's the thing. That's why it's so hard for a lot of men to grasp this, because we're not talking about a physical thing. We're still looking at it from the physical, from the five senses. We're talking about something that's in both of us. And if you look at society, we are like men, and we have been taught since birth to be not to be emotional. Don't get caught up in the emotions. Don't let your emotions rule you. You know, a man is supposed to protect. He's supposed to provide. He's supposed to do this. Everything that we've been taught about a man, if every man in here can say, it's always been something physical. It's always been something physical. Man's supposed to work. He's supposed to cut grass. He's supposed to do this. He's supposed to do all. Everything we've always been taught is physical. And so we've been in tune, and like the thing that we've been doing since I can remember in our classes is we've been talking about bringing balance. And the thing about bringing balance is we've got to be in tune. Men and we've got to be in tune with ourselves too. And that means tapping into something that we've been told is not okay to tap into. And that's kind of hard. And then at the same time, we've been telling women to think like a man. You know, act like a man, move like a man. If you want to be successful in this world, you gotta have a man's mentality. And now Keita wants to interrupt me because she wants to add something too.
I also think that to Kathy's original kind of point about it being called women's intuition, a lot of the time when we hear that term women's intuition, it was in relationship to men. Like a lot of the time you hear women say, you know, women's intuition, I should have listened to it. I would have known he was cheating. I would have known he wasn't about nothing. We kind of relegated it to relationships with men. And, you know, I think that's why it kind of, in some ways, got a reputation as just that's a woman thing. And then I also think that men will refer to it as like a gut feeling. You don't often hear a man say like, oh, my intuition told me X, Y, or Z. But they will say, I had a gut feeling. I got something in my gut told me that I shouldn't do X, Y, or Z, or that I shouldn't be in this particular place. So I think even some of the stereotypes and conditioning have had an effect on us not recognizing that we all have that inner knowing. Just think about it differently because of conditioning, I think.
Thank you. And I think you're exactly right. I think everybody's been on point.
So, Ron, this is Charles again.
Hey, Charles.
So, I'm thinking, I could be wrong, these Europeans been tapping into this, but they didn't know what they were tapping into. They use it to benefit them and to make us look like I ain't saying stupid, that we don't know anything, because the reason I'm saying that, going back to these movies and stuff on TVs, just like Star Trek, and the main thing about the Star Trek movie, it was the Borg. The Borg, they always think all collective, and when they do stuff as one, all collective is involved in that one. And just like the Matrix, everything was generated from a computer. And they did things, you know, where it blows your mind that man can do something like this, can jump over buildings, block, dodge bullets. And they've been tapping into this for the longest. But when they tapped into this, they were tapping into it in the physical way, making money out of it. And don't get me wrong, I'm thinking everybody's tied into the cosmos or the mother, but it's the way they tied tied to it. And see, now we at a position that we learning about it. And like you say, when we tap in it, when we really tap into it more,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be seeing people flying. You're gonna be seeing people understanding nature. You're gonna start seeing people healing like Jesus healed. I mean, laying on hands to heal someone. Not only that, we're gonna start, getting teach how to heal ourselves. And the thing we always be talking about, know ourselves, know thyself. We gonna
Yeah.
really know ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
That's where we're headed, Charles. Anybody want to address what Charles said? I thought about when I listened to you talk. I remember GC and Pastor went into the AI conversation, ancestor intelligence versus artificial, and that came to mind. But somebody help me out here, help Charles, because I think there was a question in there as well. The distinction between the two.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about what Mr. Charles was saying, and I think he's right. I feel like I think about this is a movie I once seen called Limitless, and they were taking, like, this man had created a pill, and it basically it removed all limits of what your mind could do. And, when I think about how science tells us that we only use a small percentage of our brain, and imagine if we could maximize, and that's the thing about, it also makes me think about man. We talk about how much we use of how much little we use of our brain, but how little do we use of our spirit? Imagine if we used our whole, if we really tapped in to what, not only what our brain could do, but what our spirits could do. And I mean, I really do think it really is unlimited in the potential of what we could become and what we could grow into.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Don.
And another thing, Ron, Charles again. When you say AI,
Uh-huh.
AI I'm thinking is dealing with Genesis. I can't figure it out. I don't understand it yet, but I'm thinking AI is connected to Genesis. Say what?
I didn't say anything. Anybody want to address that? Nick, were you going to speak to that earlier?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick. I apologize.
No, I was gonna say no. You can go ahead. I mean, I didn't have anything to add to that.
Okay, well, I guess my question to Charles is, when you say AI, Charles, are you referring to ancestral intelligence, or are you referring to artificial intelligence?
I just thought of it when I'm sitting here. I don't know. I'm just saying it's attached to Genesis. I
Yeah.
mean, when you say the memory bank and all that right there,
Yeah.
I'm just saying Genesis. It's tied into that.
Absolutely. So when you say ancestral intelligence, it definitely ties to beginning. When you say ancestral intelligence, you're speaking in reference to, again, what existed before the beginning in terms of us being able to appreciate the word. And I want to try to tie it,
Yeah.
because it made me think about John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the word was with God, and the word was God. So the word, what is the spoken word? What was the word, that we come to know when we talk about ancestral ancestral intelligence, and I think that's, what ties into the Akashic records. I think that it ties to, I think what Nick referred to when we was talking about it's the same substance when we talk about uh what was there in the beginning. So what definitely, Charles, I think in terms of ancestral intelligence, it does tie to the beginning when you talk about Genesis. I don't know if that helps, but those are my thoughts on what you were asking. Unless there's any.
It helps. It helps. It making me dig. It making me dig in deeper to know.
Well, and again, I think that's what's exciting, with regards to our conversation, the desire to know. And I think that that's where we are, in terms of our journey. And that's the beautiful thing about remembrance,
Yeah.
being able to remember what our ancestors gave us through generations and generations and generations, and how do we pass that on, where again, we don't have to be fearful, but to appreciate our relationships. And just one last point, I just want to share when we were talking about, a child holding his mother when it's in fear, when it's in uncertainty, and the healing that takes place. And I think the beautiful thing, I just like to, piggyback on with that is even when a son hugs his father. And I want to go there just for the purpose of being able to appreciate healing when we talk about the oneness of how we all talk about harmony and balance. So I just wanted to share those thoughts. Thank you for letting me share. I'm done.
Thank you. Great observation. I on yesterday I paid attention to something you guys made references to scripture. Nick talked about be still and know, which is out of Psalm 46. I looked at that, and I also looked at something that Audrey said. She talked about the Lamb's Book, which we talked about again today. Uh, that I think I saw something in there that kind of ties in directly to another layer of that really Dawn and Pastor talked about yesterday. Uh, we've been on an hour. Do you guys want to go further, or would you want to put a pin in it and pick this up at a later date? It's up to you.
It sounds like it's related to what we're talking about, so
Okay.
let's go.
Okay. Okay. Uh, this I'm going to read Revelations 21. Uh, and I'm gonna start at verse 22. Let me say this part. You guys know how complicated Revelations is, and I'm not one to sit here and tell you I understand everything that's in this chapter, because I do not. It talks about the gates. It talks about the stones and there's a lot of stuff in here that I don't grasp yet. And what I want to talk about, I want to keep our discussion based on the Akashic record, where we are and the meaning of that and the experiences that we have. How does that relate? Uh, at the end of discussion yesterday, Don and Pastor said something that really kind of stretched this. It is not just it- our experiences that are being captured and thoughts and whatnot. It is, how do you tap into it? How do you tap into it to the point that can it be influenced? Can you change? You see a person who is uh, on a road to destruction, or on a place of a negativity, or a woman who has been abused and she's downtrodden, and she it has affected everything about her. How do you change her path? Do we have that kind of influence? And I saw that yesterday when Pastor talked about the ancestors and that breaker box and stepping down that energy, and when Don talked about being asleep on the couch and asking for something and going into that meditative state. So the meditative states are very powerful in this. And I just want to, I'm going to start at verse 22 and read through 27. I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God, the Almighty, and the Lamb are its temple. And the city has no need for the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God has illuminated it, and its lamp is the Lamb. And the nations will walk by its light, and the king of the earth will bring their glory into it, into in the daytime, for there will be no light there. And the gates will never be closed, and they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. And nothing unclean, and no one who practices abomination and lying shall ever come into it, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Or this caught my eye, and like I said, I looked at a lot of scripture, and this the book of life is even mentioned in the Old Testament, of course, but this one I thought was kind of closer to where we're trying to see the Akashic records, right? Uh, no temple. This verse, this chapter starts off talking about a tabernacle. A tabernacle and a temple have something in common. The tabernacle and the temple were the dwelling places of God. If you remember when the Hebrews were in the wilderness, God had them by specifications build a tabernacle, and that tabernacle was portable. So it represented the dwelling place, or to let you understand that physical thing that you saw, that God is with us. And the temple is what they built when they got the promised land and in Jerusalem. And so it again represented that dwelling place. Well, to kind of shorten this a little bit, you are the dwelling place. You are that portable enlightenment that people see. That and the Almighty and the Lamb are His temple. That is you. We are delivered. Wherever it talks about a lamb, it's talking about Jesus, and you are that deliverance. And as we've talked about the Akashic records here, we all see it and understand it the same, but differently based on our experiences. We see it and look at it differently. So the part where it says, it's funny that it moved from the city, talking about Jerusalem, that place of righteousness, talking about nations. And I mentioned earlier, and I didn't do a good job of talking about the difference between a country and a nation. Country is talking about a thing with borders. A country wants to be different. A country wants to stand out. Country is a place of selfishness. It's a place of greed. It's a place of I'm different. I take what's mine. It is not a place of compassion. It is not something that cares about what is going on in the rest of the world. It is a place of greed. I take what I want for my place, for I can look better. And we as a people have had a country mentality because that's how we were taught to not stick together anymore, to not look out for each other, to not be a neighborhood, to not be a community, or to not care for each other, let alone people on the other side of the globe. So when it talks about a nation here, uh, I liken that to a community. There will be no more sun because you are the illumination. There will be no more moon because as we just got through talking about, it's going to come a time, and this is meant spiritually, that we are walking into blindness. We are not going to be a dichotomy of light and darkness, of masculine and feminine. We're walking into what balance truly looks like in the earth. And when we see that in ourselves, we and see it collectively and walk in that, this thing says there'll be no more sun, there'll be no more the glory of God, the glory of you, the glory of Elohim, the glory of those who are seeking enlightenment, the glory of those who pursue this acoustic record of wanting to be one with the ancestors, who understand that, who want to understand what it means to be Elohim, who cries and hurts when you as you become more sensitive to the things that we see happen in the earth. When we move to that point, we're no longer concerned whether or not I'm male or female, as we have been talking about, but from a spiritual perspective, I want to be balanced. And I gain my strength from these discussions. I gain my strength from listening to the battles and the struggles that each and every one of us have had. And we bring those together, we lay them on the table, and we talk about what we've learned from them. So as I listen to who I am and what I am, and I learn how to communicate with the ancestors, it changes me. It changes those negative things that are recorded. I can have influence on that. If I can't, what are we doing here? I can lay on the couch and wake up and ask for something, as long as I'm not laying there asking for a new car, but I'm seeing the hurt that's in the world. I'm seeing the pain, and I'm saying, Lord, what is this? What do you want me to ask for? How do I change this? So when we look, any questions so far? I'm trying, I know we've been on a while, and I'm trying to go through this, but I don't want to rush it. If anybody has anything to add or question or comment.
Just a comment. I was thinking just the other day too that about generational curses and how we can break them when we tap into the Akashic record. I was thinking that very thought, and I was going to
Yes.
ask Pastor about it. But so I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we find the balance and we are in tune with the universe, yeah, we can break those what we call generational curses. And we can even affect the past, because all knowledge,
Yes.
all knowing is in the Akashic record.
Everything.
So I can't tell you how exactly that works, but I can say it can work.
It can work. Nor can I. I can't tell you how it works, but I think we are privileged to be here. We are privileged to be at this place. So, I'm sorry, anybody else, anything else you guys see? Okay. Uh, and the nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth shall bring their glory into it. In the daytime, there will be no light there, and the gates will never close, and it shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. One of the things that has slowed me down throughout this journey is I can't see this. I don't understand it all. I don't see the kings of I don't know, but I'm beyond that now. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is be who you can be. Be the best that you can be. I trust this. I trust the people on this phone who are on this journey together with us, with me. And I believe in, as we dissect this and pull truth out of what has been manipulated, because a lot of this we've already talked about in the scriptures have been doctored up a little bit. But I think you can change the narrative of a story, but you cannot take the light out of it. You cannot. So the basic principles of righteousness are still there. But we have been given the tools, or we are the tools to see what they are saying. And they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. And nothing unclean, and no one who practices abomination or lying shall ever come into it, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. That last part to me says that not everyone will change, but that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to change. Your responsibility is for you to be the best version of the self that you were created to be, so that each and every one of us can come together and as we have said, move this to a beautiful place. The reason why I did not go into other aspects of the scriptures is because at some places it talks about the Lamb's book of life and names being blotted out. I don't know what that means. I don't believe in that. I think that was my opinion could have been worded differently. I think everyone will have an opportunity to work on whoever you are as we move forward and try to gain understanding of this. A book talks about something that is official, something that is of truth, that is full of light in this regard. So this Lamb's book, the deliverer's book, the deliverers has written these names down that who are seeking enlightenment. And not only are you in the book, you are the keeper of the book. You work with the ancestors to rewrite the book. You understand? We're rewriting scripture. We're writing scripture. We're bringing this to life as we speak. So it is not, we're talking about the Akashic record. It's not just a record. It is energy that is set aside so that righteousness can move in a way to make changes and change the darkness into light. And I feel like I'm doing a poor job of explaining this, but I think I'm glad Audrey said what she said, because I think all that pulled together kind of points to what this means. It is not just a record, and you're doomed by the thing that I did 5 years ago, even though I repented for whatever. But I have a chance to influence what has happened 40,000 years ago, as much as I have a chance to influence what happens 40,000 years ahead of me.
Yeah, it's it's consciousness.
Yes.
So in one of the previous verses, it talks about no liars, cheaters, fornicators, murderers. All those people will not be a part of it. It's just talking about being out of balance.
Yes.
So if you do the internal work to bring yourself into balance, your consciousness then resonates with the universe. So you can change it all.
You can change it all. Yes.
If you resonate with the universe, you can change it all.
I have a question.
Thank you, Audrey.
Yes. Who
I
had
have a question.
Yeah,
This
yes,
is
ma'am.
Evelyn. So is the internal work the same as shadow work?
No, but it is part of what is internal work. So your internal work covers everything. That sort of term you may have heard, shadow work, refers to a specific kind of internal work, but it is like a general term.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did someone have something? Was somebody else?
Can I say I think what Evelyn was when she said when we think of shadow work, when it comes to shadow work is more so the internal work, like the things that we don't want to face. the shadow work are the things that you suppress, the things that you don't want to deal with, the things you don't. Oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna work on this. The shadow works are the uncomfortable things that you don't want to work on.
Thank you, Don.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
No, I'm done. I didn't understand that either. I'm glad he cleared it up.
I wanted to add something. The way I see what you're saying right now, and I'm excited about what I'm hearing. You also spoke about, you said, Nick said the scripture on yesterday, be still and know. Based on everything that you said today, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and let me know if I'm saying it correctly, be still and know that I am Elohim. I am Elohim. When I began to say that I understand that I am beginning to be Elohim, Don said something yesterday that resonated deeply with me, and we went on over it, and we didn't discuss it. We've always heard pastors say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I've always thought that meant that when we were ready to hear this, we would hear it collectively. But with Elohim being one, yet many, he said, the teacher will appear in me. That hit me like a ton of brick because I had not thought of that. So what I'm hearing you say with these Akashic records, when I am ready to tap into this, we talk about things resonating deeply on the inside of me. This resonates so strongly in me that it teaches me to allow myself to open up and to be who I am, Elohim.
Yes.
So though I'm hearing this collectively sitting in this group with you today, when I am no longer with you, I'm sitting with this stuff. I'm being still. I'm sitting with and allowing this to do the work on the inside of me, opening me up to tap into, like I said, from when I listened to that video the other day, I woke up in a state of knowing. Didn't fully understand what that meant, but believing wholeheartedly that I know all things. I still believe that. I can't tell you exactly how that's going to play out, but I had to get to a point of understanding you have that ability. That's who you are. And so it's not, I don't see it as so much rewriting scripture. I see it as it was from the beginning. We are tapping back into the truths of what have always been, but we're hidden and covered over. And now we're opening everything up and allowing the teacher that's in me to open me up to, first of all, the gentleman that said to, or whoever the person was that said to Don, I can't get into all of that. That's the person that's not tapping in. That's not allowing the teacher in him to open up and receive this enough to be open to the cosmic teachers and allow them to take root in you and to let your eye be open so that you can understand and see who you are. So I see all of this as understanding that I am Elohim by being still. And now I'm allowing this database of history, this DNA encoded in me, spiritual DNA that is encoded in me, to open up and just show me all that is because it's in me. And I'm allowing myself to be taught from the inside out, not only what I'm hearing with the outside of my ear, but hearing it from my spiritual ear and allowing it to open me up to understanding these things that have been available to me since the beginning of time, if I'm saying that correctly. And I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Beautifully said. There was somebody else. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead with whoever's about that. Well, I just wanted to comment what Kathy just said right quick. Also, that thing that we've always said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's actually a lot more simpler than we, or at least myself, thought about until just now, even though I guess I may have been doing it, but thinking about it from a conscious standpoint. The student being ready is simply seeking you shall find, which is as soon as one is starting to seek and wondering. And so it made me think about when Don was talking about the guy who was going to sleep and simply went to sleep expecting, not just wanting to know, but expecting to actually have an experience where they were finding out or experiencing something that night and waking up with, that new experience or that new information. it's the same exact thing. I recall when I first actually started to come to the foundation, it seemed like all of these stuff just came flooding in. I would just simply being curious and genuinely, from a sense of wonder, wanting to know something, being interested in something, and the answer would just seemingly pop out of nowhere, somewhere that I did, try to go to find an answer or whatever, something that I may not have normally done or whatever. And then I might just randomly even turn on the TV and it's like, what is going on? Why is this thing being said? And it's literally what it is that the question that I had. So when the student is ready, it's also just as simple as just seeking and just having a desire to know, a simple desire. I'm finished.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Thank you. I love this. I mean, we're seeing it. It's beautifully done. I had hope to look at, and we've really kind of covered it, but be still and know. I was going to look at that tomorrow because I want to, but you guys have addressed it, the be still part. The be still talking about a meditation and moving self out of the way and listening and absorbing and hearing and that is just fits into this so beautifully for us to understand that place of balance that we're seeking and that place of surrender that I was talking about. We move to a place of I don't know what to call it, but to call it blindness, where you do not recognize or care whether I am both masculine and feminine. There is no difference in me. This is who I am, and I am balanced, and I see all things. So I am what I need to be when I need to be it, because I desire to know truth. And then the not desiring to know truth is when you bring life to everything, and you're able to influence everything, and you become the light. There is no millennium, there is no sun, there is no moon. You are enlightenment. There is no thing that is mysterious to you anymore. And perhaps this Akashic book, one of the responsibilities of it is for what you guys call shadow. What did you call it? Shadow something? uh, Meaning there are things out there that you do not want to deal with, that Ron does not want to deal with about his life. But there will come a point where you will see them. You strong enough. You will see the wisdom and how to deal with this, and not only deal with it for you, but for others. So it holds those things so that you can see exactly who and where you are.
The term is
Questions or
shadow work, Ron.
Well, I think
It's called
Dawn did,
shadow
and
work.
shadow work. Okay,
Yeah, yes,
shadow
sir.
work.
hmm
Okay, okay. Good discussion, y'all.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
I just got on about 5 minutes ago. I just left the church. But I wanted to
Okay.
say this. The guy who was preaching said something during the course of this message that was totally outside of what he was talking about. And he said that the troubles that we face now are coming from a man who lives in a house that our ancestors built. And our ancestors would not allow us to continue to struggle under him. I thought that was, I mean, it caught my ear because everything else he talked about was traditional preaching stuff. And all of a sudden that popped out. So
Wow.
that means, yeah, that the macro, that's all I want
Yes.
to say. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love where we are. And before we go, I want to say thank you to this group. There is something I've thought about since I was a child and growing up, especially my teen years when I was struggling with stuff. I did not know why we were in the earth, not just black people. I didn't know why God made man. All I ever heard was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm thinking, so you're born and you're cute, and the next minute you're planning a job and you're starting the cycle all over again. We filled in that gap, who and what this thing called life is all about. And that is something beautiful to me because we have opportunity to influence life, as Audrey said, from the beginning till to whenever, to the future. So thank you. We're in a good place. I hope you feel that as well. And appreciate everybody's energy today, your questions, your comments, and I hope you enjoy your rest of your day and look forward to tomorrow evening. Okay?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.